Hey, Matt Allen, Tactical Bassin. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today is something a little bit different. You know, you get on the website a lot and I'm covering power techniques, going out throwing swim baits, big fish, that sort of thing. But let's face it, sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you have to slow down and finesse fish. I have to do it too. And sometimes I forget to cover those topics. You know, there are a lot of the more basic techniques that don't even occur to me, but I had a friend point out that I really haven't gone over any of those yet. So we wanted to take the time today to talk about the nail weight worm, or also known as the Neko Rig. Basically what that is, you can do it with any worm. The first one I'm going to show you, this is just a 6-inch hand-poured worm. This isn't a brand new technique. This is something that has been done in the West for a while. A lot of money has been made on it. It's done a little bit around the country, but nationwide really hasn't caught on that strong. So I'm sure that everybody's familiar with the wacky rig, but just in case if not, take a worm, stick your hook right in the middle, and when you throw it in, it falls very naturally to the bottom, just a different look. The Neko Rig is very, very similar. The first thing we do is we take a nail weight, and I know this is hard to see, but you take the nail weight, push it right in the end of the worm until it's completely encapsulated inside the worm. The most important thing is that the worm is still straight when it's all said and done. Then you take your hook, very small hook. I believe this is a Gamakatsu Finesse Wide Gap, I think is what this model is, size 1. What you do is you take your worm. For the hand poured, I just used the flat side. That's the easiest. And we're going to wacky rig it, but we do it a little bit differently. Instead of going side to side, I go top to bottom. What we have when that's done is this unique rig where you throw the bait, and instead of falling horizontally or having a lead head on it, all the lead is hidden. So there's very little hardware showing. But this bait will fall and land on the bottom, and then when you shake it, you don't want to move this bait too much. You fish it very, very gently and just shake it in place, and then you pull it up and it'll free fall back down, and you shake it. But with that hook in there that way, what that does, you have the hook point on the lower end. So the hook point is facing towards the surface of the water. So when you set the hook, there's nothing there. Even though you're fishing this worm with very little hardware, there's nothing between that point and the fish's mouth. So you get a very high hookup percentage. Very deadly technique. You can do it with all sorts of different baits. You can do it with the Senko. That's another just killer technique. You know, there's 100 ways to fish the Senko. But fishing it with this Neko Rig, the Neko Rig is just very, very deadly. The last option that I want to talk to you about, when you're fishing this technique, because you're really just skin hooking that worm, you have a tendency to go through a lot of baits. I mean, if you're really on a good bite, especially with smaller fish, you're not going to get more than 1 or 2 fish per bait. And, you know, frankly, that can get costly. So your other option, I believe this is just a little Zoom finesse worm, is the O-ring. You know, a lot of people use that for different things. It's nothing new, but again, if you take an O-ring and slide it onto the middle of the bait, then instead of, when you take your hook, instead of putting it through the plastic of the bait, you just hook it right inside the O-ring. You get the exact same profile, but that hook is totally exposed, and your hookup ratio stays the same. There's still not very much hardware showing because the lead is all encapsulated inside the worm, but you don't go through anywhere near as many baits. You can get a lot more fish per bait, so that'll save you a lot of money. So it just depends on your personal preference, whether you want to use the O-ring or not. Some situations you do, some situations you don't. You know, if you're in a tournament and every fish counts, maybe don't go with it because it's one more thing they can see. But if you're just out fun fishing, catching a lot of fish, by all means, use the O-ring. So this is just another technique we wanted to share with you. It's a lot of fun. If it's something you haven't heard of, get out on your local body of water. Start throwing the Neko Rig. It'll work for you. Have a great afternoon.